Hello and welcome to our public affairs program here at Catamount Radio. I'm Brian Collamore. Each Sunday for an hour, we host a Catamount Community Connection. We talk with community leaders from the business, professional, nonprofit, and political arenas. We try to inform you and make our listeners aware of things that are going on in Rutland County and throughout the state. Our program brought to you by the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which has brought you the Vermont State Fair in Rutland since 1846, and we're already, well, it's coming up, folks. Let me tell you, the 178th Fair, August 13th through 17th, so it's not that far away. Tyler Hubbard will be the performing artist on the final night of the fair on the 17th, that Saturday. If you don't have tickets yet, I think it's going to be sold-out show, so go to ParamountVT.org and purchase your tickets for Tyler Hubbard coming to this year's Vermont State Fair. And for our guest today, happy to welcome back State Representative Butch Shaw, who was on the show, well, a while ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was, Butch, but welcome back, and thanks for joining us.
No, thanks, Brian, and thanks for the invitation to be here today. I really appreciate being able to talk to the folks in this way.
Well, we have, unfortunately, you are retiring, so you won't be able to do anything after January. You are still the state rep, by the way, so that was one of my questions coming up.
Sure.
But let's talk a little bit about how you first managed to get into the legislature. I know you served a total of now 15 years, which is a little weird because normally you can divide by 2 since the bienniums are 2 years in length, but you came in the middle. And how did that happen?
Well, interesting story, and I think you may have a similar story. Peg Flory, Representative Peg Flory at the time, was moving to the Senate to replace Helen Maynard, who had retired. And Peg came to me and asked me if she could put my name forward to replace her in the House of Representatives. And after some cajoling and meetings with the family and Peg talking me into it, I agreed to let her submit my name, and through the process, I was selected by Governor Douglas to come in the first day of the second half of the biennium, and therefore 15 years. I'm a mid-session baby. We have a club. We call ourselves the 150 Club, meaning we were the 150th member sworn in that year.
And I thought it was a little odd that Hull retired in the middle of a term. Normally, as is your case, you just decide not to run again, and that's the end of it. But it was in the middle, huh? It
was right in the middle of the term, and I don't remember all the circumstances, Brian. I think there were some health issues going on with Hull at the time.
And so you were selected, and
yes.
The governor put you on. And tell me about the committees that you've served over the years. I know you're on transportation now, but for a long time you were on corrections and institutions, right?
That's correct. I was on transportation and institutions for 11 years, serving 4 years as vice chair of that committee. It was a committee I knew nothing about when I went to Montpelier. I learned how to deal with state buildings, state property, budgeting in a macro arena of statewide issues, and then also doing corrections policy, which I really thought that I knew a lot about corrections, and I learned that I knew nothing about corrections, and because I was all, lock them up, throw the key away type of person when I got there, learned that approach does not always work with all people. There are some people that need to be incarcerated, and we do that today, but there are some people that we're able to rehabilitate, and some people are successful with that. So learn the whole gamut of corrections and how we do it, why we do it, what the infrastructure is, where the people are, and what kind of crimes they're committing. So that was a pretty interesting gig. And then 4 years ago, the new Speaker Korinsky, moved me to the Transportation Committee to be the vice chair of that committee, which I have been for 4 years. And it's the original committee that I wanted to be on when I went to Montpelier. And so I had some connections with the transportation program throughout the state of Vermont because of my work in the private industry in my previous life. So it was an easy transition for me. I enjoyed that. We did transportation budget, we did transportation policy, and it was a great committee to serve on.
I know you had the benefit of the dean of the House, who was chair and still is of the Corrections and Institutions Committee in the House. It's kind of an interesting dichotomy in a way. In the Senate, we don't deal in the Institutions Committee, because that's where I am now, with corrections. That is a function of the Judiciary Committee, whereas in the House, that committee does both the institutions, which in essence is the capital budget, and also corrections, but we don't do that in the Senate. So it is interesting, and I know we're talking about Alice Emmons, who's the chair and has been. I'm not sure if she was ever not on that committee since she's been there.
No, she served a stint on Fish and Wildlife.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember the other committee when she first got in 40 odd years ago. She was a great mentor to me, very, very. I'd have to give her a shout out for that. She made sure I understood what I was hearing and brought me along and taught me a lot about the building and how to operate in the State House and who's your ally and who's not your ally. And the best information and the best advice she gave to me was to get to know the senators. And that's been very helpful throughout my whole career in the State House. Yeah,
and I can attest to working with her when we put the Capitol bill together every year. I've only been on the committee for a term, but hoping to get back on it, should I get reelected, with Russ Ingalls as our chair on the Senate side. And Alice and Russ worked very closely last year to fashion a capital bill that I think is a good one, and we are going to hopefully put together another one. If I had been on corrections, I would have suggested to the commissioner of the Department of Corrections that we get the workforce crews, the crews that traditionally have cut the lawns in the cemeteries and done some of the cleanup work there, back out and doing that. I've worked pretty closely with Tom Giffen, who is the cemetery commissioner for the city of Rutland, and also the head of the VOCA group, the Vermont Old Cemeteries Association, and he has bemoaned the fact that we don't have the work crews available anymore. COVID kind of messed everything up, and they were, for some reason, afraid that they might be catching COVID while they're outside. I never really understood that. But anyway,
sure.
I'm hoping that we can get that back into place and help Tom out, because it's a volunteer group, and they do an amazing amount of work. We just did, a couple of weeks ago now, the Laurel Glen Cemetery in Cuttingsville, and I'm happy to tell you that both Senators Williams and Weeks were with me that day, so we had all three of us there. Former House member Dennis Devereaux is also a member of VOCA, and he was there as well helping out. So it was a good day. It was a hot day, but we got a lot done. So I mentioned at the outset that you technically will still be the representative for your district until a new person is elected and sworn in January. So that means you could still introduce new legislation should you so wish. And I just thought it'd be kind of an interesting thing to ask you if there's anything sort of left on your plate that you might want to do that, or have you pretty much gotten everything you wanted to get done?
Interesting question, Brian. Yes, I could. My term ends on the first Wednesday after the first Tuesday at about 10 o'clock in the morning in January, when they swear in the new members. So I am a member. I am on summer committees. I serve on a couple summer committees right now, making policy decisions. And like I say, my term ends. It might be a little bit of unprecedented work. If I had something left on my plate. And as you know, I didn't introduce many bills. I introduced bills that I thought had significance, and did not introduce bills that just for the sake of introducing a bill. But I would ask my replacement to introduce the bill, so that I have a nice young lady is going to run for my spot, Alicia Millay, the chair of the Pittsford Select Board, to introduce that bill for me. And I think that would be the proper way to do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think you and I kind of share that view of the legislative work. I also, I don't know, this will be my sixth term if I'm reelected in November, so 6 times 2 is 12. So in the 12 years that I will have been there at the end, I might have introduced a dozen bills over that time, maybe 20. And most of them were sort of like brain dead, yeah, that's a good idea kind of thing. I have much more of a desire to help people trying to deal with the morass of the state bureaucracy than I do introducing bills. Like you, just to introduce a bill to say I did it and have it appear, it doesn't appeal to me at all. I'd rather have somebody call and say, I've been trying to get through to DMV or the state economic development group or whatever that state agency is, natural resources, whatever, and I'm having trouble doing that. Could you help me at least get my issue before them? And normally when a state rep or a state senator does that, they do get a response from either the secretary of that agency or a commissioner down the line. So that is, to me, more rewarding for some reason than just saying, yeah, I introduced 183 bills in the time I was there. And so I think you and I both agree on that. I agree fully, Brian.
Yeah. I finally did some math and figured out just to introduce a very simple bill costs about $1,000. And just to introduce a bill to sit on the wall that serves no purpose is, for me, is a waste of good money that could be spent somewhere else. The other piece of that is constituent services. Yeah. I, like you, feel that constituent services are the most important thing that a member of the General Assembly needs to do and do well to get people through the morass of state government. Many times, like I said, DMV is a big one. Agency Human Services is another one. Education is another one. Those are the type of questions that I get. Unfortunately, tax questions and where's my tax return questions and those type of things, we can't answer because of the confidentiality of a person's tax return. But we can guide that person maybe to the right phone number or to the right person, and a lot of times that's all it takes. And we both have been really successful in doing that for our folks, and I'm sure that my replacement feels the same way.
Good. Yeah, you mentioned taxes. I don't think every town has generated their property tax bills yet. It's probably something that's going to happen. This show will air on the 21st, so this Sunday. And by that time, some of them will have come out. And I've certainly heard from a few people already, but not all of them have been established and have been mailed out. But certainly the increase in the property taxes will be a big issue, I think, for people going forward. And we're going to have to face the music at some point. We can't keep kicking the thing down the road. We have to really take the issue with both hands and figure out what we're going to do to make our educational funding system a little bit more sustainable, because right now we can't keep spending 12, 13, 14, 20% more a year to do that. And so there's a lot of work to be done.
There is, Brian. Yesterday I checked into the town manager in Pittsford because they are on their agenda for last night's meeting was to set the tax rate. As of noon yesterday, they did not have the information from the agency yet, so they could set the education tax rate. So for Pittsford itself, so I believe they did not set it last night. So it'll be another week or two before they can do that, and I'm not looking forward to a potential 12 to 14% increase in my education property taxes. Changing the way we fund education in Vermont is very, very difficult. Because it's politically unpopular to tell people that, well, you have too many schools, you have no students in schools, and you're still running that piece. You have too many administrators, maybe not enough teachers. Those are the kind of hard questions that the legislature knows they have to answer, but it's politically hard to answer those questions because somebody's going to be angry.
No question. And it seems pretty unusual to say that if you're only going to face a 12 or 13 or 14% increase, you're one of the lucky ones, because there are communities, I'm talking about Killington and I believe Mendon and some of the other county towns, that are in the 20+% increase. So I'm sure there will be a lot of pushback and a lot of phone calls being made and emails sent to area legislators that will indicate people's displeasure. And I don't blame them. I mean, I'm going to get the same tax bill that they are. If you live, I'm in Rutland town, and I'm assuming that ours is going to go up pretty much like yours is. And I don't think anybody's going to be in a single-digit increase. I could be wrong, but maybe there are a few that are. But yeah, it's a problem that we're going to have to face.
Sure.
So we're talking to Butch Shaw, who is the retiring representative in the General Assembly for his district, which has changed over the years. We've been through, in 15, you've been through 2 reapportionments probably, right?
Right. I've had 3 different districts. When I first ran, I was representing Pittsford and Sudbury, and that was for 3 years. The next redistricting, I picked up Brandon, Pittsford, and Sudbury. So, that was a 2-member district, which was a new experience. You're real well versed on how many towns that you represent. Mm-hmm. And then in the last redistricting, I picked up. I was taken away from Brandon, and then now I represent Pittsford and Proctor, which is it's a great district. It fits very well together economically and socially. A little different because I now have 2 different school districts to deal with, but that's fine. And both towns have similar dynamics, so it's been an experience learning about this new district for the last 2 years.
Yeah. We're about halfway through our segment with Butch Shaw, so I just had a couple other questions that hopefully make sense. If you can think back over the 15 years and think of someone that you wound up working with very well, that at first blush you might have said, "Boo, boy, I don't know whether that relationship is going to work out well or not." I've been in a similar situation in the Senate with senators that initially I thought, "Boy, we're just not going to agree on much," but as it turned out, we agreed on more than I thought. And we get along pretty well. So I didn't know, and I don't know that you need to name anybody, but does that happen a lot?
Oh, Brian, that happens a lot. And the one thing in our body that happens is somebody that you look at today and say, "Wow, I don't agree with that person at all." You may need that person tomorrow to help you do something that you would like to see done, or they're doing something that you like. But it does happen, and I don't think there's anybody in my body that I dislike. Now they vote funny, and maybe and sometimes that's a little problem for me. And some of the policy that they all work on, I just shake my head and say why. But yeah, there's some crusty old veterans that you need to get to know. I guess I became one of the crusty old veterans.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah, and down in the Senate, there are a couple senators that just absolutely enjoy antagonizing their colleagues in the body, and really antagonizing House members. So that was a fun dynamic, and 2 of those folks have since passed away, and I miss them terribly. But they taught me a lot on how to get along in that building, and it served me well.
Yeah, we're going to, as is true with every biennium, we're going to see some new faces in both chambers. We had about a 30% turnover in the 2022 biennium. I think I'm pretty sure in the Senate and in both the House. I think about a third of the members of both. And just for people's benefit, there are 150 House members and 30 senators. And this coming biennium, and you referenced 2 of the senators, Dick Mazza and Dick Sears from Bennington. Dick Mazza, of course, representing the Grand Isle District, passed away within a week of each other. And obviously, there'll be new faces there. We also had the retirement of one of the most senior members of our body, Jane Kitchell, who was chair of the Appropriations Committee and also sat on the Transportation Committee for many years, and she has decided to retire, so she will not be coming back. Senator Campion, who is from Bennington, so there are 2 open seats in the Bennington County, and Brian is not coming back either. And also Dick McCormick from Windsor County has decided that he will not return either. So that is, I may be leaving one of them, somebody else out, but we're going to have at least 4 or 5 new faces in the Senate. And Bobby Starr, how could I forget my ag chair? And again, as you referenced, Butch, probably 4 of those 5 were older folks who had been around and had great institutional knowledge. Bobby Starr had been there, well over 35 probably years. Dick Mazza, about 40. Same thing for Dick Sears and Jane Kitchell. So not so much Campion. He was there, I think he served in the House before the Senate. So he's probably been there 15 or 20 years, but he was chair of the Education Committee in the last biennium. So we're going to have a lot of new faces, and I think the House is also going to turn over.
The House is going to have some new faces, but unlike the previous 2 bienniums, we turned over 2/3 of the House membership in those 2 bienniums, which was a difficult thing to get through because we lost a lot of institutional knowledge. And everybody that comes in has a stack full of bills under their arm that they're going to get passed. So that made it a little bit difficult. But this time, I think I was reading yesterday that there's about 37 people not coming back for various reasons. And some with, 1 term, others like myself with, 7 terms, 7+ terms. And so there's a wide variety. It's spread across the state. There's actually, I think, 3 in Rutland County that aren't coming back. So we'll watch that. But the turnover is not as great this time as it has been in the past, and we'll see. It's different with new people. Committees get shook up, and new ideas are coming in, as they always have. And somebody asked me the other day, so what's going to happen? You're not going to be there. And my answer was, well, there are hundreds of people before me that served, and there'll be hundreds of people after me that will serve. And the institution marches on.
Yeah, you and I have kidded each other about it. What's the most common phrase when someone decides that they're not going to run again? And that phrase is, who's next?
Yep, exactly, Brian.
And I'm a big fan. I was of a particular senator from Washington County, Bill Doyle, who was there for well over, I think, 50 years. And it is amazing that when you think about it now, if you walked up and down the halls of the General Assembly and asked people Bill Doyle, I bet you would have more people not remember who that was than remember him. And that just blows me away. But it's true. As is true in life, things move on and new faces appear. They're all fresh ideas. Some of them are good, and some of them maybe not. So I had a great mentor, as you mentioned, Senator Flory, and Kevin Mullen, who was also a senator when I first came in. And I think, like a lot of freshman legislators, well, I'll figure this thing out, and I'll set them all straight when I get up there, and look out, here I come. And both of them sort of gently patted me on the head and said, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But the best advice we can give you is don't say anything and just listen for at least a term and get a sense of what this process is all about.
Oh, and that was such great advice. Yeah. When I first went there, I was going to show them how to do this job, and after about 2 days, I suddenly realized that I knew nothing about legislating. Yeah. And the learning curve was quite steep, and I had good mentors. Alice Emmons was one, as you mentioned. Linda Myers from Essex was another person that I trusted. And they kind of took me by the hand and showed me the ropes. And it's a fun transition, and there will be more. But, Brian, I want to say a little bit about our relationship in Montpelier.
Sure.
You and me. I was rooming with Bob Helm and Bill Johnson. Bob Helm's from Castleton. Bill Johnson was from Canaan. Bill retired, and Bob and I were looking for a new roommate. And Brian's name came up, and Bob and I talked about Brian a little bit, and we said, sure, let's see if he'll come in and help us pay the rent. By gosh, he did. And it's been a great relationship since that first meeting and the first few weeks we spent together in Montpelier, Brian. And then Bob retired, and after 32 years. And then it was you and I, and we lost our apartment that we'd had. Well, Bob had been in it 20 some odd years. I'd been in it like 13 years, and you'd been in it, I think, six or eight years.
Yep.
Yeah. We lost our apartment, so we were, for various reasons, and we found another one for just Brian and I, and we settled in. The funniest part that I think about that whole deal was the landlady we had in our first apartment was 94. Our current landlady is 100. So
yeah, we seem to have an affinity for well-experienced folks.
Yes, she does. But Brian, we had great conversations. We would debate into the night. And we just never left the legislative arena when we were together, and we were apart. I mean, people have things to do at night, in the evenings, and people start different times in the morning. We worked it all out, and for me, it has been a great relationship with you. I appreciated your willingness to listen to me complain. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Well, no, you gave great advice too, Butch.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned Peg Flory and she and Kevin Mullen. Your big advice to me was, listen, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we ought to listen twice as often as we talk. And I always thought that made a lot of sense, and I've tried to do that. So, I have not been fortunate enough to be in the majority in the time that I've spent there. And again, it's now 10 years and hopefully be 12. Were you, I'm trying to remember back the other 5 years, because you were there 15. Who was governor when you first came in?
Jim Douglas was governor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was a time, although maybe that's beyond, well, were you ever in the majority?
No,
Okay.
not even close.
Yeah.
We got to, the Republicans got to 53, I think, the first or second year, the first or second term of Governor Scott. It made the Republicans consequential. They needed to listen to us because we could sustain the governor's veto in the House easily, and we did. As a matter of fact, I think that first year the governor may have vetoed 14 bills. We sustained 5 or 6 right at the outset, and then they stopped bringing them forward to try to override. So because they knew the outcome. That's changed. The dynamics has changed. The Republicans are now down to 37 members. In the House, and I think it will be a tough slog for the Republicans to get back up near 50, but we're hopeful to get there. I think the Senate turnover will benefit you folks over there, you guys in the minority over there, because you're closer, not physically closer, but in numbers, you're closer to being able to sustain the governor and do some policy things that make sense for me, some financial stuff that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
We have 7 out of the 30 that are of a certain persuasion, and I could see it getting to 9 or 10 fairly easily, and we need 11 in order to be able to support any veto. So, yeah, we'll see. So we only have about a minute left, and this has been a pleasure, Butch, to speak with you again, and hopefully we will continue to stay in touch. I guess my last question is, so you're not coming back. Now what do you do?
I don't know. That's the unanswered question. I keep talking about it with Mary, my wife, and what's up for next year. I don't want to sit home. I want to figure out we want to figure out what to do with our lives next. We want to stay in Vermont. I have no intention of leaving our home. But it's a new dynamic that we have not experienced yet. And frankly, I'd like to find a little something where I could do something for a few hours a day and have some time off. But right now, I'm enjoying the summer. I'm still doing constituent work every day, and we're just enjoying each other's company. And I'm enjoying reconnecting with some friends that I haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah, I know we're going to get together at your place in about a week or so, and going to enjoy that. And I frankly don't know what, because the time will come when I've had it too, I guess at some point. I don't mean to make that sound as negative as
You'll wake up some morning and say, okay, I got to go home.
Yeah, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to do either. So it is something to think about once you get to that point. And you will, on occasion, talk to somebody like Bob Helm or Peg Flory or Kevin Mullen. Now, Kevin Mullen went on to other things. He was chair of the Green Mountain Care Board for a while. So he sort of had another life after the legislature. But many people don't. Many people retire and you just kind of fall out of touch with them. But hopefully we will continue to see each other. And you've been a great partner for me and great advice. And thanks to Mary for cooking all those years. I wouldn't have eaten as well as I did if it hadn't been for her.
Well,
so.
I had to promise your wife that you would eat well. So
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other thing that Peg, I don't want to say she misled us, but she overemphasized what an easy time it was to be in the General Assembly. And I guess it can be if you don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
You can just show up and go home and put in your expenses. But that's not what we want to do, and that's certainly not what you did for the 15 years. So, again, Butch Shaw, thank you so much, and stay in touch.
Brian, I will, and thank you for having me again.
We're going to take a break here on Catamount Community Connection, and we are coming right back. Welcome back to Catamount Community Connection. I'm Brian Collamore, your host. And again, each and every Sunday, we do a 1-hour program and talk to a whole bunch of folks. I want to thank Butch Shaw, the representative from Proctor and Pittsford, for being our guest in the first half of the show today. Butch is retiring after 15 years of service in the Vermont General Assembly. And now we will turn our attention to some law enforcement issues. With us are Rutland Police Chief Brian Kilcullen and Officer Emilio Rosario. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things here in the next half hour. I don't think we've had you back. I know you've been on at least twice, Brian, but it's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. Came on last time with the mayor. I know he's been on a few times since, but yeah, it's been a couple times, and it's been a little bit while, though.
And we'll talk a little bit, I guess, about, the data that we continue to compile with respect to issues that folks have in the community. We call it RUT-STAT, right?
Correct. It's modeled after New York City's CompStat process, where, again, analyzing their data, bring in police supervisors and have those supervisors sort of talk about the conditions that exist in their area of responsibility and sort of hold those supervisors responsible for making putting some things in place to positively impact sort of the negative trends when they exist.
Are we seeing a familiar pattern in terms of where the calls come from, or is it, and forgive me if it's a bad analogy, kind of a whack-a-mole thing where you think it's going to be here and all of a sudden it pops up someplace else?
Well, we have what we call sort of persistent three-peat locations. So with our RUT-STAT process, we look to identify any address in the city we've been at least 3 times in a 2-week period, and talk about the issues that are bringing us to those locations. And we do this in a room with not just police supervisors, but other stakeholders in the community as well, a lot of our Project Vision partners. So we identify those locations. We talk about the issues that are bringing us there in the hopes of leveraging other resources to bring some stability to that particular address. So again, our sort of regulars tend to be some of our retail establishments at the shopping plaza downtown. And what's driving a good number of those calls has been our retail thefts. And looking at our data, it's amazing the impact, say, just a couple individuals can have on those numbers. As I said, our retail establishments at the plaza tend to be on our 3-peat locations every 2 weeks. But in terms of the numbers, they vary depending on who might be held in jail, who might be in treatment somewhere. But it's just a couple individuals can have a real impact on what our numbers look like in terms of our retail thefts.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about this exact issue the last time you were on, and hopefully a couple bills that were passed by the General Assembly, they went into effect, I think, one of them probably on passage, and then one of them on July 1st. So hopefully we will see the beginning of a trajectory that goes the right way for us. And one of them had to do, and again, if people don't realize it, until we passed a law, if you looked out your window and saw someone rummaging around in your vehicle and you didn't have a no trespassing sign somewhere in the vehicle, that was not a crime. It was not against the law. So we did pass a bill that will allow that to be a crime. Obviously, if they stole something or did damage to the vehicle, those are two different things. But to me, it would be pretty unsettling if I looked out my window and I saw somebody I didn't have any idea who they were going through my car, maybe opening the glove box and powerless to do anything about it. So hopefully that's one of them. And then we also passed a bill, which actually I co-sponsored in the Senate, that will make, or the word was shall, the judicial officer, the judge in this case, will have to take a look at past criminal behavior in order to impose conditions of release on a particular individual. So, as you point out, if someone is constantly, every couple of weeks, you see them over and over and over again, there is now at least an avenue for them to sort of be taken out of society for a little bit. And I bet the stats will go down. Yeah, no. So this last legislative session, like you said, some of the legislative changes that were made, I think, is absolutely a step in the right direction. You know, it's something we've been asking for quite some time, and I think you're starting to see the frustration on a lot of people's parts, and so fortunately, the message I think was loud and clear, and heard by the legislature, and we're certainly moving in the right direction. We're hoping it will have an impact on what we do every day. I know Dick Sears, the senator from Bennington, who was chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, has passed on. So there will be a new chair, and that's where on our side of things, and then there's the House Judiciary Committee, that's where a lot of those bills will come out of. And we're not through. I think there are certainly some more measures that we can take to continue on this course of, public safety and housing were the two big issues that I heard about in the last campaign. So hopefully we've begun to address the public safety. I'm not sure how much progress we made on the housing front, but I guess that remains to be seen. So want to also welcome in Officer Rosario, and your beat is the downtown beat. And first of all, welcome in. I think this is your first appearance on the show, and love to have you on a recurring basis just to let us know, what the downtown beat is like, and welcome in.
Hey, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you inviting me today.
We talk about, and I've been around since 1972. That's when I first moved into the Rutland area. So I've seen the downtown in a cyclical kind of thing where a lot of years, all of the businesses were thriving, and there weren't any vacancies, and things were really good. Then we kind of go through a period where that's not true, and I'm not sure exactly. I should have the Downtown Partnership folks come in and give us sort of a report card on how businesses are doing downtown, but hopefully things are good.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people downtown. I'm down there every day, making connections with individuals, the merchants down there. We've got a lot of new places opening, and it's vibrant. Downtown is a good place to be.
Yeah, it seems like restaurants have done pretty well. There's all kinds of new sort of restaurants going in. I hear tell that the Palms, I'm not sure if that's technically in downtown. I guess to me it is, but I think they're going to reopen again pretty quickly, and I don't think we've had sort of that genre of restaurant for a bit. I'm hoping that everybody downtown does well and makes money and continues to see progress made. We also had an opportunity. I think the chief was there with the Belden family, who have great plans for what is, maybe not affectionately, but what is known as the Pit, and a big hotel going up there. And that will probably use up a lot of the spaces in the parking deck, which right now aren't being used. And I know that when you don't have somebody in a particular building, it sort of is an invitation to folks who may want to misbehave a little bit to do that. So I'm hoping, again, that the downtown area will continue to grow. And, Yeah, I've heard some great things, by the way, about you personally.
Hey, thank you.
I know when the governor was down at the legislative breakfast, you and the chief were there, and you were called up for some kudos, right?
Yeah. I try to gain rapport with everybody down there. I try to talk with all the business owners, and I just try to make downtown the place to be. And I believe it really is. We have calls for service just like any other day, but we seem to take care of them. It's funny because I meet people out there, and if they're not running to me to pay for their tickets or running away to the kiosk to try to pay for them, we just we want to let people know that we're not there to hammer them with parking tickets. So that's not why we're there. We want people to pay their parking tickets and pay for parking. I mean, that's part of the job. But most of the job is just to be down there, show a police presence, and have that positive vibe with everyone down there. So that's kind of how I try to make my relationships with individuals down there.
Well, from what I hear, you're doing a great job, and people are really appreciative of the way they get treated. So you're on foot, right?
I am. Yep. So I have a car. And I do respond to calls. I'll go help with calls for service if anything happens. But mostly I am downtown, and I am on foot most of the time, yes.
How far is your sort of area of influence?
So wherever there's a meter, that's where I am. So Strong's Avenue, Merchants Row. I'm sometimes down by Walmart. So anywhere downtown, I'll be there. So
okay.
Yep.
I know we want to talk about National Night Out. Rutland's been doing this for, gosh, I don't know. Maybe you know more than I do. 10, 12, 15 years, something like that, I think.
I believe so, yeah. National Night Out is August 6th. It's going to be from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Meadow Street Park. It's a great community event. We want to invite everybody to come out. We've got a lot of good partners that are working with us. Some great people that have donated some great things, businesses. Rutland Rec actually helps do this event, and Colleen Shattuck, want to give her some props. Does a lot of it, and she helps me out a lot with most of the stuff that we're doing. Fire department is also involved. It's just a place to come down, hang out with the Rutland City Police Department and our local agencies. There's going to be other police organizations there. And we just want to, hang out and be positive and show the support for the community, and foster relationships. So I think we do that. I mean, last year was great. Everybody really enjoyed it. And we're hoping that this year will be the same thing, maybe even better.
Yeah.
So
I know in the past, it seems like I was up at Georgetti Park one year. So I know that we've had it there, but I think it's a good idea to move it around the city. Was it at Meadow Street last year too?
It was at Meadow Street last year. I think we figured out that that's kind of like the best location in the city because it's so open, and we can get a lot of vendors in and out of there pretty easily. Cleanup is a lot easier. I think that we figured out that was great spot. I mean, the basketball court, tennis court.
No pool, though.
No pool, no, but there is a little bit of electricity there.
There is a dunk tank.
And there is a dunk tank.
So, for all our from the entire community can come out and look to potentially dunk their favorite dignitary in the dunk tank. So there's a seat for you there, Brian.
All right. I will volunteer to do that. I'm not afraid of that.
Great.
Yeah. So what are the other kinds of things that a family would find there?
Oh, I mean, it's everything. Come Alive Outside is there. We have jump houses. Chief said the dunk tank. I believe that this year we may have Touch a Truck. So we filled out a permit to shut down Meadow Street, certain areas of it. And I think we're going to have Touch a Truck, and then we might have some police cruiser, interaction with the kids. We can open it up, show them how it works, show them the lights, the sirens, some cool stuff like that. And there's going to be, partners from the entire city. So when you come down, you'll be able to find out who's down there. But it should be a great event. Last year, like I said, was amazing, and we're hoping that this year is even better.
We've got some great sponsors. So one of the big attractions certainly is the hamburgers and hot dogs. So come out and eat and spend some time with those from within the community that you might not otherwise meet.
Yeah.
Yep. Stewart Springs ice cream. So if you like ice cream, that's the place to be.
So August 6th at Meadow Street, and we're looking forward to that. You said 4 o'clock it starts?
Yep, 4 p.m. to 7.
Okay. We're about halfway through our segment, believe it or not. So we need to take a first break. I think the only break we need to take. And we will be coming back with Brian Kilcullen and Emilio Rosario in just a minute. We're back on Catamount Community Connection. I'm Brian Collamore, your host, each and every Sunday. And our show brought to you by the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which has brought you the Vermont State Fair at Rutland since 1846. We're looking forward to the 178th Fair coming up August 13th through the 17th. And Tyler Hubbard will be performing that Saturday evening, the final day of the fair. If you don't have tickets yet, I would really urge you to do that, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a sold-out event or pretty close to it. So the earlier you get a ticket, the better seat you might be able to get. You can go online to ParamountVT.org and purchase your tickets even now as you listen to this program. So we're talking to Rutland City Police Chief Brian Kilcullen and also Officer Emilio Rosario, whose beat is the downtown area. And we talked a little bit about National Night Out. The last time we had you on, Chief, it seemed like we were talking about recruits and, where we are. I know the police academy graduates a certain amount of people, and some of them were headed. I think we've also still got some room for other officers, right?
We do. We're always looking to fill our ranks, but we've made some pretty good progress over the last several years. Kudos to our recruitment team, who've really done a lot to attract individuals to the department. We've put some things in place to attract individuals because it's a very competitive market. Now, having said that, going back, say, 4 years ago, when COVID started, the numbers. The Academy could accommodate roughly 36 individuals, and the Academy stepped up also and said, we're not going to put a limit on the size of the class. And so over the last several years, you really started to see those numbers come up. This upcoming class in August, the numbers I'm hearing are upwards of 70. Now that's statewide, but I think that just shows the progress I think everyone's been making in terms of attracting individuals to this career, which is a great career, and so our numbers are up from where they were 2 years ago, and we're in much better shape than we were just a couple of years ago. As I said, kudos to our recruitment team, who's been doing a great job attracting individuals, not just to this career, but to the Rutland City Police Department.
So I'll ask Officer Rosario, how did you hear about, becoming an officer in the Rutland City Police Department? Was it an outreach from someone? Did you hear an ad? Did you already know someone in the department? How did that come about for you?
So my career started in the Department of Corrections. I worked at Marble Valley Regional Correctional Facility for a long time, about 10 years. And I used to have officers come in. And back when Police Chief Baker was at the police department, he had come in to the jail to, just talk with people and get to know people that are working at the jail or whatever. And he came in, and I was working AC, admissions, where you bring individuals in who have been charged. Mm-hmm. And he had told me, hey, you're doing a great job. I see the way you're working with people, and we would love to have you at the Rutland City Police Department. Have you thought of becoming a police officer? Do you have any endeavors? Is that what you'd like to do? And so I told him that I thought about it, and we started the process, and I was hired, and been working with the City PD since then.
And that's a 16-week period, I think, the academy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then when you get done, you can pretty much do whatever you want in terms of working for any agency, or does a particular agency sponsor you to get to the police academy? So
the Rutland City Police Department obviously sponsored me to go through, and then I became a full-time officer. And yes, once you are signed on and working as a police officer, you do have the freedom to go to other agencies that you see fit.
Yeah, of course, we don't want you to leave.
No. Right.
We want you to stay right there. But I know it is, as the chief mentioned, it's a pretty competitive thing. Salary, benefits, all of that kind of goes into account when people are deciding. And there are some agencies, we won't maybe identify them, who, because we talk a little bit about kind of stealing people's resources, and we hope that doesn't happen. But I mean, people are welcome to work wherever they want to work for whatever amount of money they can get. So it must be tough.
No, you're right. It is. It is tough. And so, really credit to the Board of Aldermen and the mayor who've allowed us to do certain things to make Rutland City Police a very attractive place to work, because it is very competitive. And as Emilio said, once you get that certification from the academy, you're employable by any law enforcement agency in the state. And so that can happen. And so if a particular agency hires you and sponsors you to go to the academy, once you get that certification, there's nothing that's keeping you with that agency. And so we've got to be as attractive as we can be. And as I said, credit to the board and to the mayor who allowed us to do certain things to make us a very attractive place of employment.
And I know at some level, even the Vermont State Police find themselves in a position where another state might be a little bit more able to provide benefits and higher salaries. So they're constantly having to kind of look over their shoulder too, I think.
No doubt. It's, again, it's, especially since COVID, it's gotten, it's gotten, the climate's a little bit different than it had been, certainly when I was hired. Most individuals were hired by an agency, me coming from New York, would typically stay with that agency their entire career, right? And then, but I think after COVID, you started to see a little bit more movement, and departments were putting things in place to be very attractive, and so it became really a buyer's market. And so the employee was the buyer, and it made it really difficult, I think, for a lot of departments to maintain staffing and provide the level of service that the community expects and deserves. And,
to be fair, I was at a few of the events that the Rutland Police Department had. One was, of course, to honor Jessica Ebbinghausen, and it was funny. I looked across, because not everybody obviously could be there. Some people had to be on duty. But I'm remembering when I first came to Rutland, who I might have seen lined up in front of me, and very, very few of those faces remain. Some of them have passed on, some have retired, some have gone other places. But, I didn't feel necessarily bad about that. I felt pretty good that it looks like a pretty young, vibrant, energetic department. And I'm also happy to tell you that there's a lot of females there, which may not have been the case at one point here. When I first came in the 70s, it was rare to see a female police officer. Most of the force was male. But and even when I started, there were some older gentlemen that were there and had been there a long time. So I think whoever's doing the recruiting is doing a great job. And Officer Rosario, I think, is a really good example of someone that has gone through the academy and knows how to treat people and knows that it's very important to establish a certain relationship with people, even in the most sort of tension-filled situations.
Absolutely.
It can break barriers down and make it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's pretty much 100% of our job. You got to be able to talk to people and get their respect between each other and build a bond. So, and
we've gone through, unfortunately, some times when the blue wasn't as well regarded as they might have been in the past. You think of George Floyd and that whole situation that sort of began this downward trend. Luckily, I don't think Rutland was ever near, defunding the police. We had other cities in the state where that might have happened, and good luck to them. I think they got what they deserved and what they asked for. So now I'm seeing a complete reversal. And people, again, thanks to officers like Officer Rosario, are coming back, and they do respect our police force.
No, I think you're right. We're very fortunate to have the community we have here. We can't be effective without a supportive community. And I think the community recognizes that. Hey, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. But we, as I said, we can't do it without the support of the community, and I think we have that. But it's try to constantly remind the department that it takes a long time to get that level of support, but it takes you a second to lose it. And so we try to stay focused on our mission and remember that we are there for the community. But again, credit to the officers, of the department who are out there every day dealing with really difficult situations. I think you correctly identified, the sort of the makeup of the department, young, energetic individuals, and that's what we have right now. They do an amazing job. It's not an easy job. It's kind of like being a referee, right? Someone's always unhappy with your call.
That's true.
But the officers do an amazing job, and all the credit to them.
Yeah. And I'm a big Back the Blue fan, so you don't have to convince me. And it's nice when we see people just driving around and they'll see a cruiser come by and they wave now. And that might not have been the case at one time.
Yeah, it happens to me, honestly, almost every day. The people here are just great. They come up to me, hey, thanks for what you do. And that means a lot, right? Because obviously we don't get paid the most money in the world, but and the job is hard. So that kind of keeps me going. When people come up and say, hey, you're doing a great job. Thanks for what you do. We have some really good people in Rutland City, and we really appreciate them for appreciating us. So
we have about a minute left. We'll just mention again, National Night Out, August 6th, 4 to 7 at Meadow Street. Bring the whole family, eat, have some fun, and interact with people from the community and show the local law enforcement officers your support.
Right, and we're going to be having Coffee with a Cop on the 24th, if I can kind of throw that in there quick. It's going to be at Pies the Limit Bakery on Strong's Avenue. So if you guys want to come out and talk with a cop, it's going to be from 10 to 11:30, and we'll be there too. So come down and have a coffee with us and talk about what's going on.
Okay. Chief, any last words?
That's it. Again, thanks for inviting us, and looking forward to doing this again.
Okay. Thank you to both Police Chief Brian Kilcullen and Officer Emilio Rosario from the Rutland City Police Department. And we will see all of you next Sunday on Catamount Community Connection.